recording. So like I said, today we'll start with fire on board. And you just see the examiner will just ask you, oh, there's fire on board, actions. And then everywhere you go, this, that. No, calm down, take a break. And there's one thing I always try to let everybody know, that once there's emergency, the first thing I need you to first start to be looking out is one, your initial action. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when there's fire? The first thing that comes to your mind when there's fire is not start calling or looking for traffic density. It's not going down to start informing P&I, informing charterers, or I'm just going back to the back, or proceed to port of refuge, all those kind of things. No, it's already a failure from the start. And that's why we see it here. I'm sure everybody can see my screen. Give me a thumbs up. Yeah, so you see my screen, so you can see it here. The first thing that comes to your mind is, what is your initial action? What are your initial actions first? Now, especially MCA in UK, the first thing they want to hear is raise the alarm. For every emergency, and this is what note taking. For every emergency, raise the alarm should be one of the first things. So there's been an emergency. I mean, I've seen some answers. Oh, there's fire, blah, blah, blah. Then I'll start fighting the fire before I'll now go up and raise the alarm. That's wrong. So first thing, raise the alarm. That's if it's not raised. Because they'll also kind of like, cajole you in saying, oh, you are the second officer on duty, you heard a fire alarm, action. Then the first thing that should come to your mind should not be, I'll raise the alarm. It doesn't look like you understand exactly what you're doing. It's either you don't understand the question or you've already crammed the question. And that was what someone in my chief mates doesn't like when I did my chief mates orals. He hates you cramming the question. So you have to be realistic. In a sense, alarm has not been raised. Sir, I will raise the alarm if alarm has not been raised. Then the second thing, now I'm talking to officers. Depending on your muster all the crew and passengers, especially if you are dealing with passenger vessels too. Muster all the crew and passengers, and then you check for missing or injured personnel. So when you muster all the crew, especially those who have done those fire drills as well, we have the muster station, and then you see one responsible officer comes with a biro and a pen and paper, and he tries to tick and tries to do an head count: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Who is the person missing? They have a list of the crew, they have a list of the passenger list. So you try to make sure that everybody is accounted for. Everybody is accounted for. My colleague during chief mate, he failed that because he did not say, of course, here. Of course, he would have thought, of course, if I'm going to do an echo, I muster everybody, I should know. But what the examiner told him at the end of the day, you did not account for every single person. At least there might be missing persons, but at least try to know where this person might be, or we try to know, okay, we are going to go. I mean, we have 4 missing persons or 5 missing persons, and you can relate that to the captain. Captain can relate that to blah, blah, blah. When last did they see him? They can carry out a search party as well as they are carrying out a firefighting party. Bam. Raise the alarm, and all these things, they are in quick successions. It's not like we finish one before going into alarm. So raise the alarm. Another set of another responsible officer or set of responsible personnel or crew are taking charge of mustering all the crews and passengers and check for missing or injured personnel. So why did I put injured personnel there as well? We don't just muster them. Okay, everybody has muster. No, you also have to check. It might be someone is really bleeding due to maybe fire has already caught him somewhere, or maybe there's a structure that has been destroyed as well, and then it's coming in and you did not pay attention to that, and the guy might just bleed to death. And that's why it's important. Muster all crew and passenger, check for missing and injured personnel. Then, people at the bridge, very important, send an urgency message. That's supposed to be an urgency message to all ships in distress. To all ships, or a distress message to all ships and the coast station. Now, an urgency message is pam-pam, meaning, oh, there is fire on board their vessel. Everybody, people should take note, but it is not a mayday. Are you following me? It is not a mayday. So a pan can be upgraded to a mayday. And the reason for the urgency is it might start in a small fire. It might not start in a cupboard. It might start in the galley, and then it erupts into a mayday. When it's not a mayday, it's everybody's business. When it's really pan, it's really something, okay, it's really urgent, but it's something still within the ship that, the ships can do it. So it's not like we have a frying pan on fire and then you just issue out a mayday. Trust me, the Coast Guard, everybody will start coming because one frying pan is on fire. So that's why they try to distinguish that. So we send out an emergency message which can be upgraded to a distress, or we send out a mayday if it's, of course, is a big fire. No, this is not something that we can undo. This is not something we can undo. Then after doing that, if it's, we need to now determine different things. Are you on the way? If you are on the way, you have to display your not under command lights at night. Are you following me? Because you need to get that into perspective as well. When you are on fire, there is no how you are going to follow the navigational pollution regulation rules. It's not possible, except in some cases where, okay, you are able to stabilize yourself. But you can imagine a big fire and you are not being able to tell every other person around you that, oh, you cannot be able to follow the navigational rules. No, that's wrong. So display NUC lights at night. And if it's a day, we display NUC light. And if it's a restricted visibility, you also have to start sounding your NUC signal. Can anybody tell me what's the NUC for restricted visibility? Yeah, go ahead, Martin. You're on mute.
One prolonged blast followed by 2 short blasts.
At interval
of no more than 2 minutes.
Not more than 2 minutes. Please let it be complete. Then we are communicating with them. Let it be complete. One prolonged blast followed by 2 short blasts, interval no more than 2 minutes. So yeah, that's our NUC for it. Then, very important, as we are now doing all this one, we commence closing of all fire doors, vents, and fans. And do you know why we do that? We do that in order to stop the spread of the fire. In order to stop the spread of the fire. It's pointless for you to be fighting fire here and you are still giving it ventilation as well. So we have to stop off, we close all fire doors. You close all the solar fire doors. Every ship is to have all these fire doors. Then the vents and then the fans, they are all shut down. And that's the engineer's duty. Then if on the way, we have to maneuver the vessel, maneuver the vessel to disallow the wind from spreading, the fire, to disallow the wind from spreading the fire. So that's you make it go on the windward side as well. So it's more of not allowing, like for instance, now if it's on a supply vessel, and you have the fire at the stern, and you have the wind blowing from the stern, you should know that now the wind will be blowing the fire towards the accommodation. But if you can, really alter your course and put the wind in a windward direction in a way that the wind, it blows it away, it blows it down away from the vessel, it will also spread the fire. What we're trying to do is, in every way, try and comb the spread of that fire. So ensure commencement of all closing doors, fire vent. If you are on the way, maneuver the vessel in a way to spread fire. And this is where you will not be under command in any way because you are not going to be following the pollution regulation anyway. Now, isolate electric suppliers. Every electric supply should be isolated. So what we're trying to do is, if you look at this immediate action before we go into the next action, which I call the assessing action. First of all, is the immediate action. What you want to do. First of all, you want to make everybody aware. Then you want to try and, if not stop the fire, but stop the spread of the fire immediately. That's the first thing you want to do. So if you can see from what we first did, raise the alarm, let everybody know, then muster everybody, let them be in a place where you can account for them, then you send out this message. So now when you've done the first 3 points, you should know that everybody on the ship on board and around you, they are now all aware. That's the first thing that you need to do. You don't leave that first three parts and then go down to isolating electric supplies, maneuver vessel. No. First thing that could come to your mind is, especially in any emergencies, I will be dealing with it in this series, and I hope everybody will be present in all the series. The first thing that should come to your mind is, okay, there is an emergency. What should be your initial action? So like I said, first 3 points should be your initial action. Let everybody know. That's by raising the alarm, muster them. They are not fully aware. You have accounted for them. Send a message to everybody around. So the Coast Guard, everybody, investors in the vicinity now know. Then you will now start. And also, if you are on the way, your display of your NUC lights, NUC shapes, NUC signals in restricted visibility. Then now what we now try to do is, bam, we've done part A, we've done part B. Stop the spread. If it's only in one compartment, if it's only on the middle deck, if you are still, if the vent is still on, it can start spreading. So let's stop the spread. Let's see if we can close all the fire doors. Let's see if we can shut all the vents. We can stop all the vents, maneuver the vessel in a way, the spread is outside in a way that the wind will not stop the spread of the vessel to also outside accommodation. Isolate electric supplies. Now, commence logging of all activities. Now, this one is quite important because I know an OW has failed for this one. He didn't point it out, but I don't know why these examiners, especially NC examiners, really take this to heart and they take this passionately. They want all events to be logged. Now, if you are a master, you are not the one who should be going around and logging all events. That's why your managerial, your team management comes in, and you have to know how you delegate duties to Mr. A, to Mr. B, to Mr. C. But what I'm trying to say is logging of all activities. You just keep logging it down. Now, yeah. So now, after doing the first one, which is the initial action, then I go down to the next. And this, trust me, initial action, assessment action, is spread across all my emergency classes, because this was how I was just able to understand these emergencies. Like I told you, when I did my first master hours, pollution emergency made me fail. And I went back and I started looking at all the emergencies and I started breaking them down in a way that what is it that these examiners are really looking for. So I started really trying to understand now that in every emergency, the first thing is initial and immediate action. And that's why I wrote a little book on it. Not like a little book, but something for other people, during their exams to also use. Then assessment, investigative, I call it assessment or investigative action. And especially now in the fire emergencies, there are assessments that you need to make. And look at what I wrote: determine, assess, maneuver away, and make. First thing, we have to determine. And what are we determining? We have to determine 3 major things, which is, where is the location of the fire? So you can really see now that you've alerted everybody, you've put everybody to safe side, you've accounted for everybody, which is very, very important. You've done your NUC and all those things. But like I said, all these things, they should be done in a fast, successful manner as well. So you've done your, you've alerted everybody. You started taking log of event that everybody accounted for, this, that. Bam. So now where's this fire? You look into the fire. What's the size of the fire? What's the type of the fire? Because why? Location of the fire, we now start making you to reassess what methodology will you use in trying to fight this fire. Where the fire is, especially if it's in the galley, okay, then we'll start looking at sending firemen down to the galley. Because we don't want to start sending, everybody start beef up your, do your fireman out to, and we find out that, the fire is a very large fire in the engine room, and just fire extinguisher cannot be able to solve it. So if the size of the fire is the whole engine room, what you need to do now is bomb. Since you have accounted for everybody, and that's where accounting for everybody is really important. Once you've accounted for every single personnel, then you can deploy firefighting measures such as CO2 or others, which we will come to that. Then the type of the fire. The type of the fire, we have type A, B, C, and D, and E. And if you use especially water, water fire extinguisher on oil, what you're only doing, you are just causing an eruption. You're just going to be having more fire. You are not extinguishing the fire. So the type of the fire really determines which fire extinguishers method you will use. Then the next one will be assessing. Then you quickly assess the vessel's position, considering versus traffic density. I worked in on airport, Nigeria, Port Harcourt, for quite a long time, and I can imagine, especially when it's inbound in the afternoon or outbound in the morning, traffic is going to be a lot. We have this convoy, if it's Total convoy or ExxonMobil convoy, and you know all of them, all the stuff like that. So you can just imagine you being in the middle of it all, and there are traffic coming in and coming out as well, and you're paying so much attention to all these things without coming to come and assess, the traffic. Assessing this traffic, we also try to make okay, if it's a fire, because a fire can also lead to a collision. So assessing this traffic density can also make you keep an eye out well for lookout of any other imminent danger that is going to happen as well. Proximity to shore or dangerous areas, because there have been sometimes when you are so overwhelmed by the fire itself and you are forgetting your proximity to shore. Like I said, still that, let's say that on airport on its own, what you're just going to be doing is you're just going to be drifting to shore. And by the time you finish the fire, you've already brought another emergencies to yourself. Heavy weather, putting weather into consideration. What's the weather going to be like? Especially if you are going from Gibraltar down to South Africa, or you are going from Gibraltar down to the Indian Ocean as well. Are you facing something around? Are you going towards the TRS? How is the weather going to cope with you? So you need to assess all these things and put these things into perspective as well. So 1 is determine, 2 is assess. Now 3 is now maneuver away. If we have traffic density, let's say especially you are in the TSS, traffic separation scheme, and you are in an emergency, what you need to try and maneuver away. You're on airport, try and find a way, and maybe you come away from the vessel traffic so that you will not be able to spread this thing out to another person or cause another collision. But you can drop anchor or do anything, but find a way to maneuver yourself to somewhere safe. Very, very important. If you're on heavy weather, do not leave your vessel to the mercy of the wind or current or whatever, so that it doesn't drift you down to the nearest shore also. Also, now this is the time now when you've been able to make all this, you can now be able to make an initial notification to the company themselves or post station. So you can see now it's going to be a bit weird when there's fire on board, and then you start calling or you make a notification to the company, there's fire on board, and you say where? We don't know where. What's the site? We don't know the site. What's the location? We don't know the location. Where are you? And we'll go and check the chart and find out. How are you close to the shore? No, make all this well-informed decision. Then you can make now a notification to the company and Coast Guard. But apart from that, especially the first 2, you have to make. It will help you in making decisions as well. The first one, determine location, determine size, determine type. We help you know how you're going to fight the fire, what you're going to do, what will be, especially the skipper, that's the master. If you start understanding what especially will be running in his head now, and that's when he needs to start thinking, what will be the plan, with it abandon ship or whatever. So moving on, we go down to the next action, which is now the contingency action. I'm just going to go back a bit so that we can recap. So if you see, the first one is my initial action. What's the first thing that comes to my mind? The second one is my assessment action. So now it's going to be very wrong for you to do your assessment action before doing your initial action. No, sir. It's going to be very wrong, but the first thing that you want to start doing is trying to assess traffic density, proximity to shore or dangerous area, whether there's heavy weather before you go and press the fire alarm or muster the crew. No, sir. So there is initial action which you should be well aware of. Then there is the assessment action. Now, from this assessment action, we will now go down to the contingency action. And this answer here, I'm answering as a master on the vessel, but also as chief officers as well. You are also masters of the vessel in case, especially if you're in UK and they give you a UK chief officer unlimited, you are master less than 3,000. Or even if you are chief officer as well, you are next to the master in case the master is capacitated or any reason. But however, let's come back again. So if you're chief officer, also it needs to listen. If you're second officer, you need to also try and know what will be the duties that will be expected of you. Chief officer is to organize a fire party. Then ensure you check on all BA sets and firefighting equipment. This is quite very important as well. We don't just come in and then start wearing a BA set and send people down to go and fight the fire, especially like I said, fire in the engine room. And the BA sets, there's a low bar there. I will still discuss how we will normally do and check this BA set because that's another exam question on its own too. Commence immediate boundary cooling, and this should be maintained all the time till the fire emergency is confirmed all over. So you commence the boundary cooling, and like I said, it starts cooling since that it starts bringing down the heat. You prepare the medical officer to be on standby with first aid kit. So if you see, I didn't just go into boom, fight the fire. No. Exam purpose is also, we want to also see that even when you're fighting fire, you're putting safety into consideration as well, because that's what we should be doing. We don't want to, in the case of we are going to go and fight the fire, then we now make ourselves a casualty. That's wrong. So first thing first, organize the fire party. If you're a chief officer, if you're a skipper or whatever, then you also need to check the BA set. Of course, your BA set will be checked monthly as per your company's plan maintenance schedule. But even prior to enter, you need to check this. You need to check your BA set. You check your firefighting equipment. They are well done. You do the safety checks. You do the nose retest as well. Then commence immediate boundary cooling. Now we start cooling off the heat from other compartments to prepare the medical officer, and that medical officer is on standby. Now, commence firefighting safely. Commence firefighting safely. I've seen one other report, and that guy really failed woefully. Fire on board. What will you do? So first thing first, I'll start fighting the fire, then I'll raise the alarm. My friend, they don't do that. And seriously, the examiner's feedback was not nice. So please, if you look at the whole steps that I've taken before coming to fight the fire, you will see that it's quite a lot. But like I said, all these things should be done very quick. But at the same time, they are really very, very important as well. So now, emergency, also when you're fighting the fire, there's an examiner in sound shoes, an MC examiner. He likes this one. You need to have an emergency backup team and rescuers to be on standby too. An emergency backup team. So I've seen examiners always look up to that because they say, okay, I'm going to send a fire party in. Okay, but what happens when they are gassed out? What happens when they are out of oxygen? What happens when the cylinders is low? And you are not thinking, or you did not even, so I'll send another people. But yeah, you did not prepare an emergency backup team initially. So just letting them know as well, it also makes you informed that, and this is something that you should do on board too. Because I've seen several people do on board, 1, 2, 3, go and fight the fire. But there is no emergency backup team because these guys might get exhausted. They may be even, you saw me prepare the medical officer. They might also be a casualty from either of them. Do you have someone that will go in, or is it because there's a casualty, firefighting are stopped? No, it shouldn't be like that. It should be an emergency. Then, remember being informed. Now, one thing about informing, and especially it happens in Coast Guard drills, but it happens also in real life. And I don't know if there's anybody who has faced any fire or any incidents, especially fire. Once you call, because my present job is I'm a DPA. Once you call me as the DPA and you tell me, oh, there's fire on board, trust me, I'm restless. I'm going to be professionally composed in trying to, salvage situations, but there is no way I'm going to deny that I'm not restless. And the reason is because, oh, you are not there. You don't know what's going on there, or you don't know what these guys are facing. So you are going to be so concerned that you will start calling. You start calling, then you start seeing the Coast Guard calling, you see DPA calling, you see charterers calling, you see all kind of manner of people calling you. But now you need to maintain updates with company and Coast Guard. Maintain updates with company and Coast Guard. Keep them informed as well. Even though you don't call, they will call you. They will several people. Your phones will go radio will go bango gas and all other stuff like that. So you need to also plan and have a radio officer or a communication officer that will be liaising with all these people as well. Now, a prudent master will prepare the lifeboat for standby in case the vessel team are not able to fight this fire. So it's going to prepare the lifeboat on standby. Then seek assistance from other vessels in the vicinity if necessary. As per SOLAS chapter 5, every vessel should be able to must offer assistance to other vessels when in distress. It's there in SOLAS, and you yourself, you must be open. You must be open to receive this assistance as well. Maritime law. Digressing a bit, maritime law, when you're talking of towage and salvage, and that might be another interesting class. I've taken it before and I would like to take it again. Talking of salvage, you see some companies that say, no, don't come near us. We can fight this fire alone, just because of the salvage law. And the salvage law kind of give them leverage to really claim as much money as they can because they only came to fight fire for you. So if it's a salvage company, you can see some masters saying no, this, that, it's all covered and stuff, or we are waiting for company to bring in towage that we have the boom and stuff like that. But coming back again to this, salvage or no salvage, please, you must be open to assistance from other vessels, and some other vessels do not want media publicity, and that is why they try to hide things until it goes down. Stability. Maintain watch on the stability of the vessel, including free surface effects during firefighting. So yeah, you might just be having, like, let's say, fire in one of the holds, and then boom, everybody takes down fire hose down there, and they are pumping it, especially maybe it might be one pot, and then there's nobody maintaining the stability, checking on stability and knowing what to do or what not to do. And you will just see the vessel listing towards the port. Even apart from that, you will see you have so much free surface here because liquids will be moving here and there, water will be moving here and there, depending on your type of your vessel. So please, quite important as well, especially for a chief officer, you must really be able to let them know. I will keep watch also on the stability of my vessel, including free surface effects, during firefighting. Now, after, I'm going to go back again because I really don't want us to miss this. If we don't catch it, I don't want us to catch this thing out. First thing first, like I started by saying, is the initial and immediate action. Initial and immediate action. The second one is the assessment and investigative action. Assessment and investigative actions. The third one is now the contingencies action. This is now like the fighting itself. You're trying to salvage the situation and stop it as soon as you can. Now, especially for fire, we have the afterwards. And follow me carefully with this one. And I've divided it into two parts as well. You might not go so elaborate like this, but when I failed that master's because of these contingencies, then I had to go and start digging in. And I actually try to put it in practical perspective as well and say, that is really true. This is not just a say answer. You need to start putting other things into consideration. So now let's say, for instance, if the fire is getting out of hand, what will you do? First thing first, you will consider the use of CO2 if the fire is in the engine room. And for those doing their orals in UK, we have the Marine Guidance Notice 354 that explains more on that. So me, I crammed that also, so that I'm going to use it for for the examiners as well. 2, if the fire is not in UK, it's in UK. If the fire is not in the engine room, but the fire is getting out of hand, like I told you, if you see the skipper here, when you see prepare, he prepared the lifeboat on standby. Very important. So it's not like when the fire is getting out of hand, that's when you start saying everybody should prepare prepare the lifeboat. No, people will start going overboard. It's instant. So prepare it down, then get ready to abandon ship on master's verbal order. I think I'll edit this to put verbal order because the order to abandon ship comes from the master verbally. Then at the instruction of the master, commence abandon ship procedure. So like if you see, if your fire is out of hand in the engine room, everybody must be accounted for, and you have to use the guidance of MGN 354 for that. I think I'll share that guidance as well to the group. MGN 354, everybody must be accounted for. You go through the steps for it. Then 2, it's not in the engine room, it's so getting out of hand, or even it might be in the engine room, it has spread widely and stuff. Get ready to abandon the ship on master's order. At the instruction of the master, abandon the ship and commence abandon ship procedure. Now, abandon ship procedure also in this, we will deal with it also in this emergency class too. Now, that's if the ship is, the fire is out of hand. The afterwards action for when the fire is well under control. So it's not like the fire is under control, everybody goes to sleep. No. Now we will now have to start keeping watch and be careful of what high temperature and likelihood of reignition. That's what I meant to say, sorry. Likelihood of reignition. And that's why if you see from my contingency plan there, I said commence immediate boundary cooling, and this should be maintained all time till the fire emergency is confirmed all over. Not when the fire is, I didn't put when the fire has been extinguished. I put when the fire emergency has been confirmed. There is no more fire. There is no more risk of it being ignited as well. Coming back again. So be careful. Likelihood of ignition 15. Continue with boundary cooling till there is 100% certainty. So the boundary cooling you need to start, because I saw an oral report. When do you stop boundary cooling? I'm not stopping boundary cooling. And someone answer, we stop boundary cooling after fighting the fire. No, that's wrong. That's dangerous. When you should stop boundary cooling is not after the fire. It should be when there is now all certainty, everywhere is cool and calm. You've gone over and over and you've checked, the temperature is reduced. There's no likelihood of ignition. There is no more high temperature, then you can stop. Except, of course, the stability comes to play, or there might be other factors that you might consider. Then you check adjacent compartments. So it's not like the fire is gone and everybody just go back to their cabin. It doesn't work like that. Then you start checking adjacent compartments and ensure that the fire has not spread through heat transfer. It's not like the fire will spread boom. It's spread it might be even by heat transfer that it can spread over them as well. If it spread by heat transfer, that means the boundary cooling that you did was not really enough. Then now you start considering restoring ventilation to clear the smoke and all. And of course, like I said, you've informed them initially, you update to the office and Coast Guard and vessels in the vicinity. All these things, I've put it down again. Record all events. Record of all events should be well noted down. And the reason for the record of all events is because you need to do an investigation. What happened? How did it happen? And then you put in steps to prevent reoccurrence. Especially if it's any shipping company, they will want to start an investigation. If it's a UK flag vessel or the vessel is in the UK, the MEIB will come in, especially if it's a big fire too. They start investigation or all these kind of things as well. Insurance, P&I, all our machinery, they will start this series of events is what they will start using too on doing insurance claims or whatever. Then looking at the things, you now proceed to the port of refuge with the appropriate navigational signs. So for instance, if you are still not under command, you don't just go and put there clearly or you're on the way. No. When I mean not under command, maybe you've had engine blackouts and your engine is not able to come back on again, and you're restricting your ability, to maneuver due to that. That's not under command, and you need to put in your not under command sign. If you are going back, everything is okay, your engine is fine, then you can put in your vessel on the way too. So everyone, that's the last action, and that brings me down to informing actions. And of course, this one is quite easy, but you can't skip it. Please inform the owners, inform the charterer. It's straightforward. Informing the P&I can be done by the vessel or can be done by the company as well. Informing classification society, master or company, informing flag, informing MAIB, chief officer, master. Then declare maybe note of protest or general average if appropriate. Now that would be another maritime class that I will take. I think I've taken it in this class before, but we will take it again because every year we have new students too. So note of protest and general average, you will have to start declaring. That should be from the master too. So yeah, that's for fire. The next one will be grounding. I'll leave that one till next week because I just don't want to rush it as well. Before I ask my question, does anybody have any question? Okay, since there is no question, then we'll start dealing with this in total. I'll pick out an oral note here and I'll see how the examiner tried to buttress on some points. Matthew, I'll start with you. First of all,
Okay.
wait, let me go back now. So now tell me, initial actions, what's the first thing you do? Yes, fire.
Raise the alarm if not raised already.
I like that word. Raise the alarm if not raised already. Second action.
Muster crew and check for injured or missing personnel.
Check for injured, but try to complete it. Muster the crew and passengers.
Yeah.
Muster the crew and passengers, because also you might be having passengers too. If you're on a cruise ship, I can't be your passenger. That means if there's fire, you forget me, you just muster the crew. No, it's not done like that, please, sir. Third one, what are we doing?
So muster crew and passengers, check for injured or missing personnel. Then send an urgency message or mayday distress message if vessel is in immediate and grave danger.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much. Lima, November, if you are there, can you unmute yourself?
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, good evening. So happy to see you here again. So let's keep now and down to assessing and investigative action. When you are checking the fire, what are the things that you're checking? What are you going to quickly determine?
First of all, the location of the fire.
The location of the fire.
Then the size and the source or the type of the fire.
Thank you. Thank you. The location of the fire, the source of the fire, and the type of the fire. Why are we determining the type of the fire?
So we'll know the right fire extinguisher to make use of, the right fire fighting equipment to make use of.
Now that's good. And why are we determining the size of the fire?
The size will tell us, first and foremost, we inform the master to know if it's grave danger, if it's a urgency, if it's for an urgency message should be sent out or a distress message to be sent out.
Yeah, that's correct. But also it's kind of prepare you on the type of fire you're about to go and fight. Okay, it's kind of prepare you on also the methods that now you will now need to use in fighting, especially this fire. So let's say it's a small fire in a small frying pan in the galley. What's the first thing that will come to your mind that the cook should use?
The fire blanket.
The fire blanket. It's a small one. But now let's imagine, boom, it's now bigger. What will start coming to your mind now? Is it fire blanket?
No, not fire blanket.
No, exactly. So now, apart from even letting the master know of, him spreading the message, it now start preparing you, the chief officer, or everyone on the size of the fire and now what methods that, that we'll be using as well. One thing I know about size is, about fire is, if it's small, the best thing you want to do is try and make sure you solve it in that small quantity. Once it starts getting bigger, then it becomes more and more difficult too, as well. Thank you very much. Contingency action. Gaba John, are you there? Chikadibia. Did I get it right? Chikadibia, you're there. Can you unmute yourself and just tell us one or two things about the contingency? Okay. I just need one more person. I just have one more question here for the person. Who is that?
Hello, sir.
Oh, Chikadibia, how are you?
On the line. Fine, good evening.
Yeah, good evening. That's very good. Thanks for coming. At what point will you stop bandukuling?
Stop bandukuling when you're 100% sure that there is no possibility of ignition of the fire.
Okay, how are you going to be 100% sure? How are you going to be 100% sure, sir?
For me to be 100% sure, I will ensure that bandukuling is continued until I'm certain. By being certain, I will ensure that all things that might make possible ignition are kept out and everywhere is dry and.
No, don't worry. It's not a tricky question, but this is a question, and this is a question in orals. I'm not bringing it out of the top of my head. I promise you that. So that's why I'm really passionate for you to try and get that. My question is, you've just gone around, to be honest. My question is, give me steps that you will take as a chief officer or as a master instructor, a chief officer, or as a second officer being expected to be instructed. The steps that you take, what do you think we should check that will now confirm that, the fire itself is now 100% gone?
I would say I'll confirm that there is no smoke. Smoke is no more coming out from the cause of fire.
Okay, you know what, Chika Olivia, what I like to do is look into the class now and ask somebody to help you, please.
Okay. Participant.
Ask the audience.
Okay, from the audience, Mr. Matthew Bene. Please, can you help me out, sir?
I'm not sure, but let me check for the temperature of adjacent bulkheads.
It's not one, no, it's not one step. And to be honest, apart from it being an exam question, I think this is a question that is quite important, you see, because for instance, if there's fire in one cabin, we fight the fire At what point are you going to determine you have finished the firefighting process? You don't want to go back to sleep and there's another fire down in chief engineer's cabin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's come back. Lima November. But the bishop is in the household, so if anybody can pay tithes, the bishop can help and answer. If anybody can call him as he help and answer. Lima November. Peter Aruba.
Sir, can you repeat the question again, please?
Yeah, so at what point would boundary cooling stop after firefighting? When are you going to stop boundary cooling? And the what's his name? Trying to get, yeah, Chika Dibia has rightly told us, oh, when there's 100% certainty that the fire has been extinguished and there's no more fire. So how will you determine the fire has been extinguished and there will be no fire? They're ignited.
I will check to ensure that there is no any source that can cause reignition. Like fire rounds, I will also carry out fire rounds, like to check adjacent holds or cabins or adjacent compartments to ensure no source of heat transfer, or there hasn't been any heat transfer, which can lead to reignition.
Yeah, that's fine. But what I liked about your answer, I liked everyone, but the most interesting part, Lima November, was the fire rounds. You get, now this fire round should be important as well. But I need someone also to tell me that, oh, the temperature is really reducing. You don't want to have still high temperature, or the temperature is still staying the same, and you have just concluded in your mind that you've completed a firefighting. So yeah, rapid decrease in temperature, then you carry out fire rounds. So Lima November, tell me, like, how many times do you think we should carry out a fire round? So you should just go around once and that's it?
As many times as possible.
As many times as possible, yeah, exactly. There's no particular number to it, but just carry out fire rounds as much as possible. Then you now start keeping out for proper lookout for other close compartments too. Yeah, Bishop is asking, who carries out the fire rounds?
I will appoint some deck crew like ABs or oilers to carry out the fire rounds. Like duties will be assigned.
Now did that, but at the same time, I would really say that the officers, you yourself, as being a chief officer, you'll be responsible for this fire rounds too. But I can also take that because I'm just imagining a cruise vessel. There will be a very big vessels as well, but that does not exonerate you from being responsible, for this fire rounds. But my own is, as long as this fire rounds is really carried out appropriately and is well monitored and somebody is responsible for it, then it might be as effective as it should be as well. But very, very important, please. Boundary cooling shouldn't stop. So, and I will tell the examiner, so I will not complete my boundary cooling unless there's 100% certainty. And the next thing he will ask is, okay, how are you going to be 100% sure? And I've kind of continuous checking of the temperature, make sure the temperature is really reduced. Like Lima November says, any potential source of ignition, I'll make sure they are isolated so we don't have another bits, especially if the root cause was even still there. We can just even have another fire again the next 2 hours too. Fire can spread through heat. So we check every compartment on all compartments around the vessels as we are doing our fire alarms to ensure that it has not spread, around the vessels too, as well. Thank you very much. The Bishop has been dropping some texts. I want to give him the floor. So you have anything to add?
Yeah, thank you very much, boss. I appreciate. Just a quick one. I think somebody in our group should drop the MGN. You don't have to be the one to drop it. Somebody should research it and drop it in the group so that they know where those MGNs are as well. They should not wait for Captain Busayo to drop the MGN that he has mentioned today. That's one. Secondly, this question, I'd like us to, you have to understand the position you are in when you're answering it. So if you're a chief mate, your response will be different from if you are there as a captain or if you are there as the officer of the watch. So don't forget that. This can also catch you up if you are going for master, especially because you are not yet master. You don't put yourself in that position. You still be answering like as if you're a chief mate. I will go. If you're a master, most likely you will not go. You understand? So, but because you're not, it's understandable because you're not yet in that position. You don't speak with that level of authority. So you have a fire team. You can designate a senior officer to go with the fire team to go for those rounds. You understand? You have to speak with level of confidence that yes, you're a master. And if you are OOW, you need to know how you're going to respond. Follow the so person's instructions, the master's instructions. Observe this, report back to the master. If you are the master, who are you going to report to? Don't forget, you might be updating the office. And lastly, this is going to be like an assignment for all of us. That if you're on board, check your GMDSS, your IMASAT C, and prepare a distress message. Prepare the message on your draft, so that during your drills, you bring it out already. Because if there's emergency and you start preparing those messages that PAMPAN or security or distress, as Captain Afolabi was mentioning, at that time, you might even forget what you're going to write there. So for me, then as a junior officer, I prepare a draft distress message. You can change few things, when there's a real emergency, but once it's a drill, you just bring it out. You prepare, it's prepared. You change few things. You show the captain, okay, I've prepared this message. Something like that. So during my next round, I will be checking that on vessels I visited, that you already have some form of message saved in your GMDSS for this. And also, we'll be doing few checks on how to send distress message on board your vessel, on your vessels, all the ways you can send distress message. We will be doing those checks as well. So thank you very much, Captain Afo. And thanks to everybody that came. Really, the person should...
Yes, so someone has just been congratulations.
Yeah, that's good. Congrats.
If you're okay, I will just mention the person's initial. It starts with Lima. But congratulations, God. I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy. Congrats.
Congratulations.
And we are coming to celebrate too. We're coming down to Sanchez to celebrate. So someone just passed the SQA. So SQA is the written examinations in UK, and it's not an easy one. I know it's not an easy one. So so please, everybody say congratulations to her, and yeah, and I hope the same for every single person in this class. Seriously, this is the kind of news I'm always wanting to expect. So yeah, Lima November, congratulations, seriously. So together. Congrats.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
No, you're worth it. Seriously. The big gift is coming all the way to Sanchez. All right, then. See you guys next week, and the video will be out there for you to watch. Because I would like to recap before I go down to the next one. The next week will be going into grounding. And grounding will also be another interesting one. Let's know what we are doing before we assess. All right, then. Thank you very much. Thank you, Bishop. Matthew, thanks a lot. Lima November, congrats. I'm so happy for you. Congrats. Peter Aluba.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, congrats. November Alpha, everyone. Shika Dibia, thanks. Your answers were nice. And I really see that you've been able to catch more answers as well. Mike Alpha, November Alpha, Peter. Yeah, thanks. And see you next week with more good news.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
All right, then. Bye.
Bye.